No, don't tell nobody that. Just leave them alone. God will bless them. Amen. Genesis chapter 16, 1 through 6. If you have the King James Version, you'll find these holy, divine, and inspired words. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, a slave girl, an Egyptian whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, said, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. He ain't tried to reason with her. He ain't said, baby, what you talking about? She said, go sleep with Hagar. He said, well, you said it, baby. You are my wife. I'm supposed to obey you. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And now Sarai, who has the beautiful plan, says to Abram, my wrong be upon you. I have given my maid into your bosom, and now that she conceived, she walking around here, head all stuck up, not like she's somebody. Now I'm despised in her eyes. She was a slave before she got pregnant. Now she all that. Now may the Lord judge between me and you. And then this rascal, I don't know what in the heck he was thinking. Abram said, well, Sarai, behold, your maid is in your hands. Do what you want to do with her. Yeah, really do. That's how you're going to go out. And when Sarah dealt harshly with her, she fled from her face. The word of God. We've been, Sister Rhonda Henry, we've been preaching since we started the year off in January. We've been looking at our theme, if you will, the embracing the God-filled life. In the jury, we started out in Genesis 12:1. Remember saying that if we're going to embrace the God-filled life, then Brother Charles Thompson, first thing we got to do is we got to leave everything behind. You got to remember to leave behind the failure. Remember, leave behind the fear. Leave behind the fence sitting. So we're going to have to leave some things behind if we're going to embrace the God-filled life. Then secondly, we discovered that, Brother and Sister Kendall, that if we're going to embrace the God-filled life, then we're going to have to let everything go. Let go of some stuff. And then we said that if we're going to embrace the God-filled life, JQ, we're going to have to entrust everything completely. And today we want to pick up as we start again, Ivana, on today, as we look at embracing the God-filled life. If we're going to embrace the God-filled life, then we need to pursue everything patiently. We need to, Deacon Richardson, pursue everything patiently. Now, when I came up, there were a couple sayings that you would hear all around in the neighborhood. There was a few of them. You heard them, Brian. Daddy used to say all the time that if somebody was rich, Daddy wouldn't say he was rich or had money. Daddy would say he got more money than Carter got liver pills. You understand, Sister McGinnis? That meant that he had, a lot, because Carter had a lot of liver pills. And in fact, I think Jimmy's still taking them liver pills. And then you would hear other things, Sister McGinnis, when someone was seemed to be exhibiting patience, Sister Patton. You would hear people say, well, he's got the patience of Job. And they would say patience is a virtue. And I heard all this patience of Job. And then when I got old enough to know who Job was and looked in on some things, I said that guy had some patience, because I read Job and some things happened to Job. Chapter 1 says that, Deacon Richardson, it was the day when the sons of God came to present themselves before God. And it said, and Satan came also with them. And then God looked at Satan and said, Satan said, so where you been? What have you been doing? Satan said, oh, God, I've been just walking up and down in the earth, just going up and back and forth, seeing who I can, kind of mess up. And then God out of nowhere, Justin, said, well, have you tried my my servant Job. I see you picking on folk that don't know where Genesis is. I see you picking on folk who have not actually been to Bible study. I see you picking on folk who hadn't been to prayer service. I see you picking on folk who can't find Leviticus if you gave them a dictionary. He said, but I tell you what, I don't want you to stop picking on them. He said, but let me recommend one to you. I got one named Job. I want you to pick on him because he's upright and he eschews evil and he's perfect in my sight. And God, and Job, the devil said, well, God, who wouldn't be? So you put a hedge around him. Say you got him sitting on 20s. You got him living in a Malibu home. You got stuff all around his neck. He got rings on his fingers. He got shoes on his feet. He's driving a Cadillac, Rolls Royce, and a Bugatti. He said, who wouldn't serve you, God, if you did that for him? God said, I tell you what, if you think that's why he's serving me, I'm going to let you take away the Bugatti. I'm going to let you take away this. I want you to take away this, and I want you to take away that. And the story goes and tells us why Job was sitting minding his own business, and the servants came and said, Job, all of a sudden, all of your oxen are gone, thunder and lightning and everything started happening. And while he was talking to him, another servant came and said, not only are your oxen gone, now your asses are gone. And then when he was talking to him, another one came and said, all your sheep are gone. Then another one came and said, all your camels are gone. Then another one came and said, all your sons and your daughters are gone. If that ain't bad enough, your house burned up. And the Bible said Job, he rent his mantle and put his head in his lap and said, God giveth, God taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And then Satan said, God, I tell you the reason that he's still praising you, said, you just touched his stuff, but you haven't touched his body. I guarantee you, if you touch his body, God, he'll cuss you out to your face. So God said, Satan, you can have control of him, but you just can't kill him. So the Bible said he struck Job from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet. Job's breath was so putrid, his wife told him to cuss God and die, and Job wouldn't do it. Job just kept saying, naked I came, and naked I'm going to leave. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And then Job made a statement that we repeat today. He said, of all the days of my appointed time, I'm going to wait, baby, till my change come. In other words, Job said, something is coming. I'm not always going to be broke, baby. Something is coming. I'm not always going to be renting. Something is coming. I'm not always going to be walking. I'm going to wait till my change come. You can laugh at me now, but you ain't going to be laughing later. God is coming. He's on the way. He's got one foot on the cloud and the other one on the sea. He's coming to see about me. I'm going to wait till my change comes. So in other words, Job said, I'm going to exhibit some patience. Patience. And patience, that's something that we struggle with today. That's something that we struggle with, It was funny as I was doing this sermon, Mama, because I thought about when we went to California. I got a brother, I love him to death, but Tony ain't the most patient fella. He always been like that. He just got to go. He just got to go. And folk talking like, hey, we got to go. Yeah, but like, we just can't make the train disappear. I mean, ain't nothing we knew about that. People driving slow. No, they driving the speed limit. You going 90. They ain't going slow. Patience. And then Maria, I saw an illustration that would just let us see what patience is. It said, patience is like a mosquito sitting on the bed of an anemic person who's waiting for a blood transfusion. That's patience. Yeah. And then, Sister McGinnis, somebody said, patience on the road may often prevent patience in the hospital. Just slow down, patient. And see, the world has gotten it now where we don't have to be, because now you can push a button. See, it used to be, before the lie hit, you had a week to buffer the lie and to defute it. But now, your lie, so we don't have patience. Hot now, you see what happened to them. They closed and done. Patience. Philip Brooks said this. Sister Geraldine Price. Philip Brooks, a Boston pastor, was asked one day for the reason of his apparent agitation. And Mary Gray, he said this. He said, the reason that I'm agitated is that I'm in a hurry and God isn't. And I think I just hit everybody here. You don't have to say nothing. That's why you're silent, because I just hit you. You in a hurry, but God ain't. Yeah. One of the best loved passages of the Old Testament is the book of Isaiah. And particularly after Psalm 23, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 28 through 31 is probably the most quoted, the most loved passage in the Old Testament after Psalm 23. And this is what Psalm 40, 28 through 31 says. It says, hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. Oh, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Now, you just proved it. That's a shouting passage. I didn't stick you. I didn't tell you to shout. You did it on your own. But if you notice in verse 31 of Isaiah, there will be no mounting up with wings as eagles if you don't wait. Now, I'm in the text. See, we often shout for we do all the searching. You need to shout after you search. Notice now, Gloria Clayton, there will be no running and not getting weary without any waiting. I'm right there in verse 31. There will be no walking and not fainting without any waiting. We don't want delay of any kind. We don't want nothing delayed. Nothing. They tell you you go to McDonald's, go to the drive-thru, pull up with, oh, why I got to pull up? If they give it to you cold, wine it hot. Well, what? I tell you to pull up, you mad. You got people in Grand Rapids, they forget the bacon, and they shooting in there. And now this sister finna spend 20, 30 years in prison for some bacon that they left off of something. We don't want delay. It doesn't occur to us that God has intentionally delayed answering our prayers or fulfilling our promise, his promise, because he has a higher, greater purpose in mind. See, Elizabeth and Zechariah prayed for a son, and God waited and waited and waited. He said, the reason I'm waiting, said, y'all just want a son, said, but I'm going to give you the forerunner to my son. See, we just want it when we want it, how we want it, the way we want it. But delay is not necessarily, y'all, a denial. It's just often that God uses the delay to actually develop our faith in him as we struggle to patiently pursue everything God has for us. Now, if we're honest, my brothers and my sisters, sometimes Sister Seabury, it just appears that God is moving so slow. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, my boy, would say he's slower than a snail with arthritis. That's slow. And since it appears that God is moving so slow, we become impatient, and then we run ahead of him, thinking we can either help him answer our prayer or force him to act on our timetable. And that's why they sang he's an on-time God. Shayla, if we don't learn to walk alongside him at his pace, you're going to end up marrying a mess. I mean, now that I meant making a mess. I said marrying a mess. Somebody, I don't know who that's for. Marrying ain't on here, but that just, yeah, that ain't no slip. Somebody need that. You might not be here, but you're watching. Somebody, you about to marry somebody. Oh, Lord. She done bought the dress. Y'all done sent the invitations out, and you already got the club, and y'all going to go through it anyway. I declare that came out. That was a Holy Ghost slip too. That wasn't no. Somebody need to stop. I don't know who, Mike. Y'all know anybody about to get married? Or is it you? Now y'all sure ain't gonna answer now. Y'all doing the LeBron now.